The forgotten ship, the HSS Resilience, drifted through space like a tired old dog that had seen too many fights. Its hull was a patchwork of dents, scratches, and mismatched repair plates that told the story of 50 years of hard service. The ship had once been white, but decades of space dust, radiation, and poor maintenance had turned it a dingy gray color that seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. Captain Sarah Chun stood on the bridge and tried not to think about how her career had led her here. At 38, she had dreamed of commanding one of the sleek new exploration vessels, or maybe a diplomatic ship that visited exotic worlds. Instead, she got the Resilience, a cargo hauler so old that most of the Galactic Trade Federation had forgotten it existed. The bridge was cramped and outdated. Half the control panels were held together with tape and hope. The main view screen flickered every few minutes, and the air recycling system made a wheeze that sounded like an old man with breathing problems. Sarah's crew consisted of 12 humans, all of them considered misfits or failures by Federation standards. Marcus Rivera, the chief engineer, looked up from a control panel that was sparking intermittently. He was a stocky man with grease-stained hands and the kind of tired eyes that came from fixing things that were beyond repair. "Captain, the main drive is acting up again. We're losing power to the navigation systems." Sarah rubbed her temples. The Resilience had been assigned to waste disposal duty in the Outer Rim territories, which was basically the Federation's way of saying they wanted the ship and its crew to disappear. They hauled garbage, broken equipment, and toxic waste to disposal sites that were so far from civilization that it took weeks to reach them. "How bad is it this time?" Sarah asked. "Well, the good news is that life support is stable," Marcus replied, with a grin that didn't reach his eyes. "The bad news is that everything else is falling apart." Elena Vasquez, the ship's pilot, spun around in her chair. She was young, maybe 25, with short black hair and the kind of confidence that came from being able to fly anything with engines. "Captain, we've got company. 3 ships just dropped out of hyperspace, and they're not broadcasting Federation identification codes." Sarah's stomach dropped. Pirates were common in the Outer Rim, but they usually went after valuable cargo, not garbage haulers. "Put them on screen." The main view screen flickered to life, showing 3 sleek vessels with aggressive, angular designs. They were Krillian raiders, and Sarah recognized the distinctive energy signatures of their weapons. Systems. The Krillians were one of the most advanced species in the galaxy, with technology that made even the Federation's best ships look primitive. "This is Captain Zex of the Krillian Armada," came a voice over the communication system. A translator made it sound flat and emotionless, but Sarah could hear the arrogance underneath. "Human vessel, you will prepare to be boarded. Do not resist, and your deaths will be quick." Sarah looked around at her crew. They were all staring at her with a mixture of fear and determination. The Resilience had no real weapons, just a few outdated laser cannons that were designed for clearing space debris. Against Krillian ships, they might as well throw rocks. "All hands, battle stations," Sarah ordered, knowing it was probably pointless. "Marcus, get me everything the engines can give us." Elena, evasive maneuvers. The Resilience lurched forward as Elena pushed the engines to maximum power. The ship shuddered and groaned, but it started moving faster than it had in years. The 3 Krillian ships followed easily, their advanced propulsion systems making them look like hunters chasing a wounded animal. Tom Bradley, the weapons officer, was frantically trying to get the laser cannons online. He was a former Federation Marine who had been demoted after questioning orders during a diplomatic mission. "Captain, weapons are charged, but our targeting system is completely worthless. I can't get a lock on anything moving that fast." The first Krillian ship opened fire with a weapon that seemed to bend space around it. The beam struck the Resilience's shields, which flickered and died instantly. The ship rocked violently, and several control panels exploded in showers of sparks. "Shields down," reported Maya Singh, the tactical officer. She was a small woman with thick glasses who had been assigned to the Resilience after her unconventional strategies had embarrassed her superiors. "Hull integrity at 70% and falling." Sarah gritted her teeth. "Return fire." Tom pressed the firing controls, and the Resilience's ancient laser cannons spat out bolts of coherent light. The shots struck the Krillian ship's shields and dissipated harmlessly, like raindrops hitting a window. The enemy didn't even slow down. "Our weapons are useless," Tom said, his voice tight with frustration. "Their shields are too advanced. It's like trying to cut diamond with a butter knife." The second Krillian ship attacked from the side, its weapons tearing through the Resilience's hull like paper. Alarms started blaring throughout the ship as atmosphere began venting into space. Emergency bulkheads slammed shut, sealing off the damaged sections. "We're losing air in sections 4 through 7, Marcus reported. "Emergency power is failing, and the main computer is offline." Sarah watched helplessly as the 3 Krillian ships circled them like vultures. She had seen Federation battleships with advanced weapons and shields get destroyed by Krillian raiders. The Resilience, with its outdated systems and patchwork repairs, didn't stand a chance. The third Krillian ship moved in for the kill, its weapons charging for a final strike. Sarah closed her eyes and waited for the end. But instead of the ship-killing blast she expected, there was a strange crackling sound, and the Krillian ship suddenly veered off course. "What happened?" Sarah asked. Maya was staring at her instruments. With confusion, their targeting system just malfunctioned. "It looks like they can't get a lock on us." Marcus was grinning now, a real smile that lit up his tired features. "Captain, I think I know what's happening. Our systems are so old and primitive that their advanced sensors can't figure out how to read them. It's like they're trying to use a quantum computer to count on their fingers." Elena laughed, the sound almost hysterical with relief. "You mean our junk heap of a ship is actually confusing their fancy technology?" "That's exactly what I mean," Marcus said. "Their computers are designed to interface with modern systems. But our stuff is so obsolete that it doesn't register as real technology. To them, we might as well be a floating rock." The Krillian ships regrouped and tried another attack, but their weapons kept missing or hitting at reduced power. Their targeting computers couldn't compensate for the Resilience's erratic energy signatures and primitive technology. Sarah felt something stirring in her chest, a feeling she hadn't experienced in years. It was hope, mixed with something else. Something that felt like the beginning of an idea. "Marcus," she said slowly, "what if we stopped trying to make our systems work like modern technology? What if we made them work like human technology?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. "What do you mean?" "I mean, what if we took everything the Federation taught us about proper engineering and threw it out the airlock? What if we built systems that were designed to be unpredictable, inefficient, and completely unlike anything the galaxy expects?" The chief engineer's grin got wider. "Captain, that's either the craziest idea I've ever heard, or the most brilliant." Maya looked up from her station. "The Krillians are pulling back. I think they're trying to figure out what went wrong with their attack." Sarah stood up and walked to the center of the bridge. Her crew was looking at her with something she hadn't seen in a long time. It wasn't fear or resignation. It was excitement. "Listen up, everyone," Sarah said. "We've spent years trying to make this old ship work the way it's supposed to. But maybe it's time to make it work the way it wants to. Marcus, I want you to take apart every system on this ship and rebuild it from scratch. Don't follow any manuals or regulations. Just make it work." "What about Federation protocols?" Maya asked. Forget the protocols, Sarah replied. We're going to build something that's never been built before. Something that's completely, utterly, and proudly human. Tom was already moving toward the weapons console. Captain, if we're going to rebuild the weapon systems, I have some ideas. Some very unofficial ideas. Elena was pulling up star charts on her navigation console. I know a place we can go. An old mining station that was abandoned. Years ago. It's got everything we need. Raw materials, tools, and nobody around to ask questions. Marcus was already making notes on a tablet. This is going to take months of work. We'll have to completely rewire the ship, rebuild the engines, and design new weapons from scratch. It's going to be the biggest jury-rigging job in history. Sarah looked around at her crew. They were all smiling now, their eyes bright with the kind of enthusiasm that came from having a real mission for the first time in years. The Resilience wasn't just a garbage hauler anymore. It was going to become something new, something that had never existed before. Then let's get started, Sarah said. We've got a ship to build. The Krillian ships were still circling at a safe distance, trying to figure out what had gone wrong with their attack. They had no idea that the crew of the weakest ship in the Federation fleet had just decided to become something else entirely. As the Resilience limped toward the abandoned mining station, Sarah couldn't help but smile. They were going to take 50 years of accumulated junk and turn it into something that would make the galaxy remember why humans were dangerous when they got creative. The real work was just beginning. Rise of the Phoenix 6 months later, the HSS Resilience emerged from the abandoned mining station like a creature from humanity's darkest dreams. What had once been a tired old cargo hauler now looked like something built by mad scientists with unlimited imagination and a complete disregard for conventional engineering. The ship's hull was covered in a seemingly random collection of armor, plating, sensor arrays, and weapon systems that had been cobbled together from salvaged materials. Energy conduits snaked across the exterior like glowing veins, and the entire structure seemed to pulse with an organic rhythm that made it look more alive than mechanical. Captain Sarah Chun stood on the completely rebuilt bridge and marveled at what her crew had accomplished. The cramped, outdated command center had been transformed into a nerve center that looked like it belonged in a science fiction fever dream. Multiple screens showed real-time data from hundreds of sensors, and the air hummed with the sound of perfectly synchronized chaos. Captain, Marcus Rivera called from his engineering station. All systems are green. The new chaos matrix is operating at optimal efficiency. Sarah nodded, still amazed by what they had created. The chaos matrix was Marcus's masterpiece, a computer system that used controlled randomness to make the ship's behavior completely unpredictable. Instead of following standard patterns, every system on the Resilience now operated according to constantly changing algorithms that no external scanner could analyze or predict. Elena Vasquez was at the helm, her hands dancing across controls that responded to her touch like a musical instrument. Captain, we're receiving a distress call from the Kepler colony. They're under attack by a full Krillian battle fleet. Sarah felt her pulse quicken. The Kepler colony was home to over 50,000 human settlers, mostly families who had left Earth to build a new life on the frontier. If the Krillians were attacking civilian targets, it meant they were escalating their aggression against human settlements. How many ships? Sarah asked. Maya Singh looked up from her tactical display, her face pale. 15 vessels, Captain. 3 heavy cruisers, 8 destroyers, and 4 support ships. It's the largest Krillian fleet ever assembled. Tom Bradley was already preparing the weapon systems, his fingers flying across controls that bore no resemblance to standard Federation designs. Captain, our new weapons are ready, but we've never tested them against a fleet this size. Sarah walked to the center of the bridge and looked at her crew. They had all changed during the months of rebuilding. They moved with confidence now, their eyes bright with the knowledge that they had created something unprecedented. The Resilience wasn't just a ship anymore. It was a weapon unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. "Set course for Kepler colony," Sarah ordered. "Maximum speed." The Resilience leaped forward with a burst of acceleration that should have been impossible for a ship of its size. The new engines that Marcus had designed used a combination of human engineering and salvaged alien technology, creating a propulsion system that was both more efficient and more powerful than anything in the Federation fleet. As they traveled through hyperspace, Sarah reviewed the modifications her crew had made. The weapon systems alone were a marvel of creative destruction. Tom had built projectile launchers that could fire anything from chunks of recycled metal to containers of caustic waste. The laser systems had been modified to operate on multiple frequencies simultaneously, creating beams that could penetrate almost any shield configuration. But the real genius was in the ship's defensive systems. Maya had designed a shield array that used the ship's own garbage as ablative armor. When enemy weapons struck the shields, they would encounter layers of compressed waste material that absorbed and dissipated the energy in completely unpredictable ways. "Dropping out of hyperspace in 30 seconds, Helena announced. Sarah took a deep breath. This would be the ultimate test of everything they had built. If their modifications worked, they might be able to save the colony. If they failed, they would all die, but at least they would die fighting. "All hands, battle stations," Sarah ordered. "Remember, we're not fighting like a Federation ship. We're fighting like humans." The Resilience dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Kepler system, and Sarah's heart sank at what she saw. The colony's orbital defenses were gone, reduced to debris that glittered in the light of the system's star. The Krillian fleet was in formation around the planet, methodically, destroying the surface installations with precision strikes. "Captain," Maya reported, "I'm detecting massive casualties on the surface. The Krillians are targeting civilian centers." Sarah's jaw clenched. The Krillians weren't just conquering the colony. They were trying to exterminate the human population. "Elena, take us in." Tom, prepare to engage. The Resilience accelerated toward the Krillian fleet, its approach detected immediately by the enemy sensors. Sarah watched as the alien ships began to turn toward them, their weapons charging for what they expected to be a quick and easy kill. "Incoming transmission," Maya announced. "It's from the Krillian flagship." "Put it through," Sarah ordered. The face of a Krillian commander appeared on the main screen. His species looked like a cross between a reptile and an insect, with compound eyes and mandibles that clicked when he spoke. "Human vessel, you will surrender immediately. Your primitive technology cannot stand against the might of the Krillian." "Armada." Sarah smiled, and there was something in her expression that made the alien commander's mandibles twitch nervously. "Commander, this is Captain Sarah Chun of the HSS Resilience. We're here to inform you that your attack on this colony ends now." The Krillian commander's laugh was like the sound of grinding metal. "You are one ship against 15. Your destruction will serve as an example to other human settlements." "We'll see about that," Sarah said, and cut the transmission. The Krillian fleet opened fire simultaneously, sending a barrage of energy weapons and guided missiles toward the Resilience. It was enough firepower to destroy a Federation battleship, but the human ship seemed to dance through the attack like it was choreographed. The chaos matrix made the ship's movement completely unpredictable, and the weapons that did connect were absorbed by the shield system's layers of compressed garbage. "Their targeting systems can't get a lock," Maya reported with barely contained excitement. "The chaos matrix is scrambling their sensors." "Now it's our turn," Sarah said. "Tom, show them what human creativity looks like." The Resilience's weapon systems opened fire, and the Krillian commander's confidence evaporated instantly. instead of the coherent energy beams or guided missiles he expected. The human ship was firing what looked like random junk at high velocity. Chunks of metal, containers of industrial waste, and even old kitchen appliances streaked toward the Krillian ships at near light speed. But the apparent randomness was carefully calculated chaos. Each projectile was designed to penetrate Krillian shields in a different way. The metal chunks overloaded the energy barriers. The waste containers corroded the hull plating, and the kitchen appliances exploded with spectacular effect when they hit critical systems. A first Krillian destroyer was crippled within minutes, its engines destroyed by what appeared to be a modified food processor. The second ship tried to retreat, but the Resilience's new engines allowed it to match the alien vessel's speed while continuing to fire its unconventional weapons. "Captain," Elena called out, "3 more destroyers are moving to flank us." "Let them come," Sarah replied. "Maya, activate the surprise package." Maya's fingers flew across her controls, and suddenly the space around the Resilience was filled with what looked like a cloud of metallic dust. The Krillian ships flew into the cloud, expecting it to be some kind of chaff or defensive screen. Instead, the dust was composed of millions of microscopic machines that Marcus had built from salvaged alien technology. The nanobots swarmed over, the Krillian ships burrowing through their hulls and systematically destroying their internal systems. Within minutes, 3 of the most advanced warships in the galaxy were reduced to floating scrap. The remaining Krillian ships tried to regroup, but the Resilience was everywhere at once, its unpredictable movement making it impossible to target. The human ship's weapons kept firing, sending increasingly bizarre projectiles at the enemy fleet. At one point, Tom managed to disable a heavy cruiser by launching a container full of expired food that somehow caused a chain reaction in the alien ship's power core. "Captain," Maya reported, "we've destroyed 8 enemy ships. The rest are trying to retreat." Sarah shook her head. "They came here to exterminate civilians. We're not letting them escape to try again somewhere else." The final phase of the battle was a masterpiece of controlled chaos. The Resilience used its superior speed and maneuverability to hunt down the fleeing Krillian ships one by one. Each engagement was different, with Tom improvising new weapons combinations on the fly. He used everything from compressed garbage to containers of cleaning supplies, turning the ship's waste disposal system into the most unconventional arsenal in galactic history. The last Krillian ship was destroyed when Elena used the Resilience's modified engines to ram it at high speed, protected by shields that had been reinforced with layers of compressed plastic waste. The alien vessel crumpled like paper, and the threat to Kepler colony was ended as the debris from the Krillian fleet drifted through space. Sarah received a transmission from the colony's surface. "HSS Resilience, this is Governor Martinez. We don't know how you did it, but you saved 50,000 lives today. How can we ever thank you?" Sarah looked around at her crew, who were all grinning with the satisfaction of a job well done. They had taken the weakest ship in the Federation fleet and turned it into something that could defeat the most advanced alien technology in the galaxy. "Governor, just spread the word," Sarah replied. "Let everyone know that humans don't give up, and we don't back down. When someone threatens our people, we turn our junk into weapons and our desperation into strength." Within hours, news of the Resilience's victory was spreading throughout the galaxy. The Federation's high command was demanding to know how a garbage hauler had defeated a Krillian battle fleet. Scientists were trying to understand the technology that had made it possible. Military strategists were studying the battle recordings, trying to figure out how to replicate the success. But Sarah knew that the real secret couldn't be copied or mass-produced. It wasn't just the technology or the weapons. It was the human spirit that refused to accept defeat, the creativity that could turn trash into treasure, and the determination to protect what mattered most. The HSS Resilience had become something more than a ship. It had become a symbol of what humans could accomplish when they stopped trying to be like everyone else and started being themselves. The galaxy would never be the same. Asterisk.